It's not just getting rid of a building that the city's not using, but something we took into account as we received these offers, and we encourage these folks, let us know what you're gonna do with this property, because there's an opportunity for the community to turn that into something productive. And so the high offer that we received will be an existing business in Lamar's that will expand into that property, but they're gonna start offering additional services that they didn't have. And it'll be services that we don't currently offer in Lamar's that you have to go out of town to get. And so that's a nice opportunity for the community, and there will be a retail component to that, which is close to our downtown. So now we're taking a non-productive building in Lamar's and turning it into something. There's gonna be an investment, and that could be something nice for the community. LBIC commercial lot, next to Brock Auction on Business 75, just past 12th Street. The Northwest REC has owned a 1.1 acre lot for a long time, and they really haven't actively marketed that lot. And one thing I've noticed since I've been here is we get a lot of inquiries for commercial products, but we don't have a lot of inventory, so we're at the mercy of what happens out there. And so the opportunity came for LBIC to acquire that lot. So LBIC has a 1.1 acre commercial lot that we can offer for commercial projects. And more importantly, as we identify other areas where we might be, meaning LBIC, to be able to acquire commercial lots, that gives us the opportunity to work with these prospects and make these commercial projects come to fruition. And then commercial business opportunities, we get a lot of inquiries, more inquiries than we have space for some of these commercial businesses. And so the biggest thing is to make sure that we try to help them remove the obstacles to be successful, and to help them find the right location, and just to walk the path with them. And so I guess the moral of that story is there's some good flow in Lamar's, Iowa. We're seen and we're getting noticed when it comes to commercial opportunities. And this planning process that we're going through, as we identify some of these goals that we have, there's folks paying attention to us, so we will see some additional commercial opportunities down the road. And then into housing developments. LBIC multifamily lots out by the airport, we sold the last ones this past fall. The projects didn't get started this last fall, but our hope is that they do get started and we start seeing some construction on those final lots. But the byproduct of that is there's no multifamily lots available for sale in Lamar's. So LBIC is actively looking for ground that we can develop for multifamily projects. There are multifamily developers out there looking at Lamar's. We've got some local ones that want to do additional projects, but just as importantly, there are developers from around the state that recognize what's happening with industry and the jobs that are being created. And so once we get some additional multifamily land, then I can work with these developers to help them access the state resources and hopefully get some additional multifamily, because it's going to be pretty important as industry grows and the amount of people that we have coming into town to work every day, that we give them opportunities to live in the community as well. And then the single family housing developers, I do maintain contact with those developers to ensure that we as a city are supporting their efforts and to help remove any obstacles there. The LBIC, so as we created this community development director position and making it a city position, the LBIC does have properties and they do have activity and they do get inquiries, so there is a necessity to provide that staff support to LBIC. And so that's what I do. I take care of their daily activities, pay the bills, take inquiries, put together the board meetings, work with the board of directors for the LBIC, help them market their properties, keep their web page up to date. So there's just a number of those things that we continue to work with LBIC on in order to make sure that they can run smoothly. And then finally with the LBIC, in 2022, LBIC did a market study for childcare and identified in excess of 500 needed spots for daycare in the community. And since then, they did do a strategic plan for daycare and formed a steering committee. And so I've been working with this steering committee, and they have two primary goals. And that's the first goal is to work with the existing daycare operators and make sure they understand the resources that are out there to help them grow their daycares if they so choose. And there is a learning curve for these daycare providers that what resources are available and how to access those. And then the second track is to look at the potential down the road of creating additional daycare slots through additional either daycare or community daycare. So that's in the early stages, but LBIC continues to work that. Child care is a pretty important thing for industry, especially as they grow, so parents have a place to take their children in town. And then finally, code enforcement building official. So with Greg retiring in April, we do have a need for a new code enforcement person, and they will be under the community development department. And so there's a class in February in the Twin Cities. It's a week-long class where we can get some training for that person. So we did hire a gentleman who will start next week, and we will send him to the class in February to get some training for community development, and we will start heading down the path of training another community development person. And we appreciate everything Greg's done for our community. Willing to answer any questions. I went through this very quickly, but you all have my cell phone number. Feel free to text me, call me, meet with me anytime that you'd like, and we can talk through any ideas or opportunities that you have.
Starting with the last one, how many applicants did you have on that code enforcement?
Was it 11 or 12?
12, I think.
12.
And varied backgrounds or?
Varied backgrounds. Some with zero experience and some with more experience. And then we had a 3-person group that was Jacob, Jason, and myself. We reviewed the applications. We took what we felt was the top 3. And we interviewed them, and out of those, we made an offer. Anything else?
I don't have anything, so.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
As always, we save the best for last.
It's good. I'm glad you gave me the last hour here to talk to you guys. So.
How's it gonna look for last?
Dave Shipper, Fire Rescue Chief. First and foremost, I'm going to start off with thanking the mayor and the council and administration, thanking our families and spouses and our employers that allow their people to respond to emergencies in their time of need, people in their time of need in this community. It's becoming more and more demanding as we continue to grow and move our community forward. On the cover page of my annual report, if you have it there in front of you, I don't know if you do or not, that is the new rescue ambulance that was purchased and put into service in February of this year. It's 4-wheel drive, which has been nice a few days. It sounds like it might be nice to have tomorrow into Thursday. Hopefully not. Hopefully it doesn't have to go anywhere, but chances are it will. The next page is our membership. We have the largest department in the city. We have 44 staff members. We work out of 2 stations with several $1 million worth of equipment. The top 9 there are the full-time staff, and then the rest are your paid on-call volunteers with varying experience and varying education and certifications. I'm going to go fast through this because we've been here a long time, so I'm trying to help you guys out a little bit. Next page, total calls for service was 1,795. That comes out to roughly 5 calls a day for your emergency services. So a lot of times I'm hearing people say, boy, we hear sirens all the time anymore. Well, it's at least 5 times a day you're probably hearing them, but some days are worse than others. On the EMS side, 1,376 calls. That is up over 100 and some calls from last year. And there's the breakdown there for city, rural transfers. And then the second or third calls are when we're paging the entire department because the first unit's already out. And that happened 101 times on top of the 419 fire calls. So over 500 times we're paging out for help for paid on call volunteers to come in or full-time people to respond for overtime, just because the number of calls for service is so far up. Your fire call breakdown is there from city to rural to mutual aids, and then below is the type of fire calls we have. We had $1 million, more than that, more than $1 million in fire loss last year. Some we don't get all the reports for, but some of the larger ones were van sanitation, Eastridge Apartments, the house explosion, and then those huge grass fires we had in April, which that's hard for us to tally on damage when we run 3 miles worth of fire each direction, you know, as far as if there was crop loss or we can kind of add up structures and things like that, but it's tough to tabulate some of that stuff. So a lot of fire loss last year as well.
Your fire calls up or down from your,
Fire calls are actually down, but the reason they're down about 50 is because once we merged, Steve, when we used to have car accidents, fire department would pull a number, and ambulance would pull a number, but now that we're one department, we only take one number on that. So actually everything was up, or would have been up. Fire would have been up about 50, and ambulance is up over 100. But once we merged, it's just one number and not two. We're not taking two separate call numbers. Types of calls for service on the next page, a little bit of everything. I've got to thank the other city departments. We work with all of them. You know, we're probably that department that gets basically needed or used, or we have input on everything that goes on in the city because of who we are. So we work with wastewater, and they're doing a great job on their confined space stuff. We teach them their entry classes and things, and they call and let me know when they're going in a hole and when they're in the lift station or when they're out. So Doug, kudos to your staff. They're doing a great job. Water department keeps us informed on broken mains and hydrants that are out of service. The police department, we work with them all the time on medical calls and all kinds of things, missing children, to if we have active shooter or meth labs or any type of CERT team or SWAT team types responses. We assist and work with them quite often. Of course, Greg and I work hand in hand about every other day, it seems like, on projects and things. So we get involved with a lot of different city departments. There's your breakdown of your membership again. Response times, Mr. Donlin had asked me about those a couple times, so I wanted to put those in there. So on average, a rescue truck will leave the building in 37 seconds after the pager goes off. We're getting to our patients in 3 minutes and 24 seconds. So just to kind of change the numbers on there, it used to be 9 minutes and 13 minutes, and now it's 37 seconds and 3.24 minutes. Average time for a fire, yes? You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Fire truck used to be 4 minutes, now it's 2.5 out of the building, and on scene time 6.3 minutes where it used to be 8.5. So by having those people on staff, obviously that helps us. Even our second calls, now that we have so many cross-trained individuals, it makes response times a lot quicker because you don't rely on 3 people, you rely on 30. So you got a better chance to get people to the stations a lot quicker. Busiest day of the week for whatever reason is Wednesday. I don't know if we're all trying to get over hump day or get over the hump. I don't know what that is, but the busiest time of the day is between 10 and 11 in the morning. It seems like when we have the most calls. The equipment we have there is listed. Both stations, we operate out of 2 stations. They're both full. And we utilize all that equipment, sometimes on a daily basis, obviously, with 5 calls a day. Coverage area is something that I put in here that I'm not sure all of you know, but we now cover 200 miles of rural. So we'll run 18 miles and be the first fire ambulance into a scene 18 miles from town. That 200 miles of rural covers 7 partial or total townships that we cover, that we bring in revenue through township taxation. And then we have 8 miles of our city limits. So yes, Lamar's from Sedona to Willow Run Boulevard is 8 miles roughly, okay? So it's 8 miles across the city, thus needing 2 fire stations besides just having to divide up because of railroad tracks. And then those are the towns we cover automatically now at the bottom of that page, 24 hours a day. I don't know if all the citizens know that or not, but Lamar's, Merrill, Owens, Brunsville, Seney, and Struble, we roll automatically a fire truck or an ambulance to on any call in those communities or their territories as well. One, because those towns have very little staff or no staff at all right now. So it's getting busier all the time. Inspections conducted, the next page, we did 205 inspections last year, and that's varied between myself, the 2 assistant chiefs, and the duty staff. We offered 58 training sessions either to our staff or to other communities. 325 meetings attended. We did 35 fire classes for the public, trained 111 people. During Fire Prevention Week, we did 26 talks to 26 different school grades, and that reached about 320 kids. And then we use our smoke trailer for our own training, which is our semi-trailer. It has a maze in it that we fill with smoke. We took that to WIT, which we take every March down to WIT Fire School, and we put 63 new firefighters through that. It's kind of a mass confidence course to see if you're claustrophobic or not. So that trailer will be over by our building in March, so I'm gonna offer it to you guys to come over and take a look at it sometime, or if you wanna try to crawl through it. I know the cops kinda do their, what do you call that program for the community, Kevin? Your police?
The
Citizens Academy. I don't have the people to do that all the time, but if you guys want to come over and just see kind of what we do as far as, I'll stick you in that smoke trailer just to give you an idea if you're claustrophobic or not, but you're more than welcome to come do that anytime.
I don't need to find that out.
You don't need to find that out, Mark?
Good.
Yeah, if you're screaming, we'll come get you. I mean, we do. No, so, and then at the bottom, there's just some things we fundraise. You know, we fundraise, we have that opportunity. The citizens have been overwhelmingly great to our department with their donations, and that's what helps us make this work, keeps taxes in check, and so we really appreciate all the donations and the citizens who take care of us. And we are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't quit for snowstorms or holidays, so if you need something, don't hesitate to call. Questions? As fast as I've ever went through a quarter.
Sounds as fun as tear gas training, basic.
Yeah, it is. It's great. Although this is more theatrical smoke. It's not gonna make you snot and your eyes water, Clark, but you can come over.
I have just one question, that is, so you call in Orange City for backup, would
Yes.
you pay them? Or what?
So what that is under a mutual aid agreement. So Orange City is our closest department that has the certifications that we need. And they come down on major structure fires or major calls to cover our town, which they do, or to actually help us at the call.
Who
And
covers
we
them then?
So they only bring us 8 guys in one truck.
Okay.
And we reciprocate that. We've sat in Orange City Station for several hours while they've been out on
Okay.
huge farm fires and things.
Okay.
Our aerial truck was actually instrumental in their downtown fire a few years back at stopping that fire from going down the block. We got some really nice thank yous and accolades from their community and their council. So it's a give and take thing, and we probably have them down here on average 9 times a year, so not even once a month. But they bring their big truck and 8 guys, and you notice when they're here because of the show.
But we don't pay them and
we don't
get paid?
pay them.
Okay.
It's all through our mutual aid agreement that they are under their city's workers' comp. They take care of their own fuel, their own equipment, and we do the same if we go up there.
I was kinda curious how that worked, because
Yeah.
I know East Ridge.
Yeah, you see them, you bet. A house explosion.
Yeah, a couple others.
They're in front of my office once
Yep.
in the last 6 months, weren't they?
Yeah, when we get a downtown fire, that's almost a smoke in an uptown building, that's almost an automatic thing, and they do that with us too. And there's several times where we'll head that way and we get to Senior and turn around and come back.
Right.
But you know, as towns like we look here on this sheet, get smaller membership, and you know how volunteers are. It's not Rotary, it's not Kiwanis, it's training and requirements and insurance and attorneys and everybody involved. It takes more, and these smaller towns just, luckily our volunteer corps is big yet, but it gets tougher to find people, and these smaller towns have really struggled with that. So, when we get a large structure fire, what I try to do is bring an Orange City in, so the smaller towns that do have somebody can kind of cover our rural areas, because we're tied up on a city call. And it's been working so far. But there's just some days like those huge grass fires, nobody has enough people, or trucks or equipment, and you bring in 6, 8 departments, and we're all chasing things for a while.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. Any other ones?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.